Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you so much for your kind association. Let's chant our Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swami iti namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadādhara Śrīvāsadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, yes, let us recite the verses from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadasya yatonvayaditarataschartheshvabhijñasvarat Tene brahmaridaya Ādi Kavaye Muhyanti Yatsurayah Tejo Varimridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrisha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirastakuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi Dharma Projita Kaitavotra Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Shivadam Tapatrayonmulanam Śrīmad Bhāgavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Vaparayirishvaraha Sadyoridyavarudhyatetra Kritibhi Shrushrushubhistatkshanam Nigama kalpatarorgalitam phalam Shukamukhadamrita drava samyutam Pibata Bhagavatam rasamalayam Muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radhokshaje Ahetukya pratihata yayatma suprasidati Vadanti tattvavidas Tattvam yajnanamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti Bhagavan iti shabdyate. Atah pumbir dvijashreshtha varnashrama vibhagashah swanu shritasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. Ete cham sakalah pumsah krishnastu bhagavan swayam indrari vyakulam lokam mridayanti yuge yuge. Tadvag visargo janatagha viplavo yasmin pratishlokamabhadyavatyapi namananantasya yashonkitani yat Shrunvanti gayanti grananti sadhavaha yasyam vai shruyamanayam krishne paramapurushe bhaktir utpadyate pumsaha shokamoha bhayapaha atma ramascha munayo nirgrantha purukrame kuruvantyah tu kim bhaktim इत्थं भूतगुणो हरिः त्वयि मे अनन्य विषया मतिर्मधुपते सकृत् रतिम् उद्वहताद् अद्धा गंगे वौघम् उदन्वति हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. So let us continue our study of Grantharaj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, entitled The Passing Away of Shri Bhismadev. And we have to start from verse number 6. Shri Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Shri Bhismadev is preparing to give up his mortal body. And Shri Yudhishthira Maharaj, along with his brothers and their friend, guide, and well-wisher, Shri Krishna Bhagwan, have arrived on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, where Shri Bhismadev is preparing to give up his body. And they are all very well dressed, and they come and they meet with Bhismadev. And many other personalities also, when they come to know that Bhismadev is preparing to give up his body in the presence of Shri Krishna, it's a very great event. So many great personalities also arrive there. Let us see who these great personalities are. Shri Suta Goswami is describing all this to Shaunakadi rishis. Text 6. Parvato narado dhaumyo Bhagavan Badarayana Bruhadashvo Bharadvajaha Sasishyo Renukasutaha Vasishtha Indra Pramada Strito Gristsa Madosthitaha Kakshivan Gautamo Trischa Kaushikotha Sudarshanaha. Translations and purports by our most beloved founder Acharya. Om Vishnupad, Paramhamsa, Parivrajakacharya, Ashtottarashata, Shri Śrīmad Abhay Charanarvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ji ki Jai. Translation. All the sages...
Would you also start the recording or just the live today?
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. Thank you.
Thank you, Rukmini Priya Mataji, for reminding.
No, thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay. So all the sages like Parvat Muni, Narad Muni, Dhaumya, Vyasa, who is the incarnation of God, Brihadashava, Bharadwaj, and Parshuram, and disciples of Parshuram. Vasishtha Muni, Indra Pramada Muni, Trita, Grit Samada, Asita, Kakshivan, Gautama, Atri, Kaushik, and Sudarshan were all present. Hare Krishna. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada has given a brief biography, very brief biography of all these great personalities. I was thinking of doing a discussion on all these personalities, but it will take several classes. So I decided not to do it because that is not really the focus of what is being said here. But suffices it to say that all these very great personalities, very great rishis and sadhus, they assembled when Sri Bhismadev was preparing to give up his body. And really so much can be said about all these great devotees. And so Parvat Muni, he is a very great sage, one of the oldest, and he is a very dear friend of Sri Narad Muni. And some details are given about him. All of you can read. I have a question for all of you. Please raise your hand if you know that instance from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita where Parvat Muni is mentioned. Who knows? Okay. Kirtida Sundari Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, when the pastime of Mrigadi the hunter is described.
Very nice. Very nice. Amazing. Yes, there Narad Muni and Parvat Muni are mentioned. Then Narad Muni is mentioned. Now, please tell me from different Puranic histories, one by one, raise your hand, if you can tell me about the different disciples of Shripad Narad Muni from the Puranic literature, different disciples of Shripad Narad Muni, or different people, different personalities and different Leelas, different Puranas, different Yugas who were guided by Shripad Narad Muni. Yes. Kirtida Sundari Mataji. Sorry, Ladini Gopika Mataji. We just asked Kirtida Sundari Mataji.
Yes, Hare Krishna. Dhruva Maharaj.
Okay, Dhruv Maharaj. Yes,
Yes.
Narad Muni was the guru of Dhruva Maharaj. Good. Sandeep Prabhu.
Valmiki Muni.
Valmiki Muni, Ramayan. Very nice. Excellent. Sharanagat Mataji.
Hare Krishna. I had these two in mind, but Prahlad Maharaj.
Prahlad Maharaj. Yes, very
Yes.
wonderful. Excellent. Mukta Sangha Prabhu.
Srila Vyasadeva.
Srila Vyasdev. Of course. Yes. Kirtida Sundari Mataji.
Prabhuji, in first answer I said Mrigadi the hunter. But now I can also say Prachetas.
Ah, the Prachetas. Very nice. Prachini Bari. Prachetas, weren't Prachetas disciples of Lord Shiva? I think the Prachetas were disciples of Lord Shiva, but their father, Prachini Bari Maharaj, he was a disciple of Shripad Narad Muni. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kirtida Sundari Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu, you are right.
Manju Bhashini Mataji. That's okay. But the father is the
Yeah, Pratin Parishad, yes.
Manju Bhashini Mataji.
Nalaguera Manigrave.
Nalaguera and Manigrave. Okay. Yes. Very nice. They were preached by Shripad Narad Muni. Shanta Radhika Mataji.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, जो सोच रही थी वो तो बोल दी, पर इट कैन बी चित्रकेतु.
Chitraketu Maharaj, yes, mainly Angira Muni, but Shripad Narad Muni also comes. Yes. Good, very good. Purnima.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु. प्रभु माँ पार्वती.
हाँ.
माँ पार्वती.
श्रीमती पार्वती देवी.
जी प्रभु.
कैसे? Oh, you got muted. You can unmute, Purnima.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु प्रभु जब माँ पार्वती सती के बाद उन्होंने पुनर्जन्म लिया देन नारद मुनि ने ही उन्हें गाइड किया कि उन्हें किस प्रकार शिव पति के स्वरूप में प्राप्त हो सकते हैं, उनकी भक्ति कैसे करनी है.
Okay. Very nice. Thank you. I did not know that. Sundari Gopi Mataji.
Prabhuji, prachetas, because at the end, first it was Shivji for the Guru, but at the end of their life, when they leave their wife under the son's care, then Narad Muni comes and he tells them about the spiritual, how to go back to Krishna. So that is in the prachetas pastime. The
Wonderful.
second time.
So Kirtida Sundari Mataji is correct. And you are also correct. Thank you. Very nice. Shachi Mata Devi Dasi. Shachi Mata Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. The 1,000 sons of Daksha.
The sons of Daksha, yeah. Twice Narad Muni preaches to them. Very nice. Amrit Gaurangi Mataji.
Prabhuji, the Narad Muni narrates the story of Puranjana to Prachina Barisa. Did we already discuss that?
So we discussed that Maharaj Prachini Barhi was a disciple of Shripad Narad Muni.
Yeah, that's what. Okay, sorry, Prabhu.
But think from different, from Krishna Lila, something comes to mind from Krishna Lila. Not even Guru, but Narad Muni plays a role in Krishna book. His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj taught us very important thing. Once Srila Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj said that devotees should read one chapter of Krishna book every day. Then you will be Krishna conscious all your life. Imagine if we do that. So very wonderful. So now let's switch gears. Now tell me, raise your hand, starting with Amrit Gaurangi Mataji. One instance from the Krishna book where Narad Muni plays some role. From Krishna book, I think Mataji got muted. Yeah, you can unmute Mataji. You can unmute now. Amrit Gaurangi Mataji.
Sorry, Prabhu, I have to repeat what was already told. Nalakuvera and Manigriva's pastime.
Okay, that's fine. Krishna book, okay. Then let's see. Parima Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, it was the slaying of Kansa.
Very good. Very good.
It was the slaying of Kansa. He became the medium of, he told Kansa actually that, your enemy is living in Vraja. So that's how Kansa created the whole plot of bringing Krishna, and that's how he was slayed.
Very nice. Okay, Aishwarya Satyabhama Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Satyabhama, when she did yagna, Narada Muni came and guided her. Satyabhama, when she did yagna to gain Krishna's love.
Satyabhama performed yajna?
Narada Muni, that time that Leela happened, no, Prabhu, like Rukmini put this thing, Tulsi, and finally.
Oh, okay, that pastime. The Tuladan pastime.
That time Narada Muni guided her.
Okay, but Rukmini Devi won. She offered Tulsi.
Yes.
Satyabhama's different jewels could not outweigh Krishna. But yes. Okay, Narad Muni played a role in that pastime. And Rishi Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, with my please accept my humble obeisances. Narad Muni instructs Vasudev, the father of Krishna.
Very nice. Narad Muni instructs Vasudev. Anybody else from Krishna book where Narad Muni plays a role? Yes, Amrit Gaurangi Mataji.
So when Narad Muni is wondering how Krishna is managing 16,108 wives, he goes and checks in Dwaraka.
Amazing. Very nice. Nikunja Leela Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisance. Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Prabhuji, when Krishna had the pastime with he is pretending having the headache, and he asked for the raja from the pure devotee who can give, but none of his wives and none of them, everyone refused to give their raja from feet. But gopis, they told whatever it is going, whether we are going to any hellish planet, but still we want Krishna to be revealed from his headache, and they gave, and that's how the importance of Gopi Chandan came out.
Hare Krishna. The greatness of Gopi's love was manifested through this pastime. Very
Yeah.
nice. Okay, not from Krishna book. This pastime is not from Krishna book, but yes, Chaitanya Charitamrita mentions this pastime. So very nice. Vamshi Vadan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandavad Pranam. Prabhuji, instance of Kalyavan and Jarasan. So Kalyavan was, when Jarasan and Kalyavan were together, Kalyavan actually was inching to go and fight with someone, and he was asking Srila Narad Muni who is the most powerful person, and Narad Muni actually induced him to go and fight with Krishna that time, and that actually series of pastimes come after that of Muchukunda and other things.
Wonderful, wonderful. Sandeep Prabhu. Then Kirtila Sundari Mataji.
No, it is not in, maybe it is not in Krishna book, but in Krishna Leela.
Chalega, Krishna Leela also fine.
So, Narad Muni tells all these stories or pastimes for Bhagavatam to Yudhishthira Maharaj in the Yajna.
Okay, in the Yajna, 7th canto. Okay, that's good. That's good. Kirtila Sundari Mataji.
Yeah, Prabhuji, again, I was remembering this wonderful pastime of swing pastime when Radharani went to Man, and that time Narad Muni told Krishna that I want you to swing with Lalita Devi.
Very well. Very well. Very nice. Very nice. Now Jhulan is coming. So very nice. Thank you. And you were right about the Prachetas also. So that also example is correct. So then we have Sharanagat Mataji. Krishna Lila, Narad. See, Narad Muni, the point is, Shripad Narad Muni is here at the time of disappearance of Bhismadev, and Narad Muni is there in so many places in our literatures. It's so amazing. Okay, quickly. Krishna Lila, Narad Muni.
Yeah, Krishna Leela is there, but then just 1 second. When Krishna and Balram, to all the wives of the Krishna, when their mother was telling the story of the Vrindavan Dham, and then they were really, I mean, it is a pastime. Actually, it is for the Jagannath's avatar story.
Okay, yes, yes.
So I was remembering that, but that is, I don't know if it is in the Krishna book or not. But
no, it is Krishna Lila. So that's very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Muktasanga Prabhu. Then Krishna Pramodini Mataji after that.
So Prabhu, this is from Bhagavatam, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So Narada Muni and Bhakti Devi. Bhakti Devi will go to Narada Muni, right, to revive Jnana and Vairagya. Narada Muni guides Bhakti Devi.
So this, I know it's in the Bhavishya Puran. It's there in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam.
It is referred, like in Padma Puran. Referred, but actually it is in Padma Puran where Gokarna story comes. This is
Atmadev Gokarna.
Atmadev and Gokarna story. That is what it is. So,
okay, very nice.
And Bhrigu Muni also is there. Narada Muni and Bhrigu Muni.
Yes.
Who is the most in the highest order, right? So Bhrigu Muni goes and tests
the three main deities. Yes. But my favorite pastime, my heart is breaking. Nobody's telling my favorite pastime.
Krishna book too?
From Krishna Leela. Krishna book also, there are many more stories. Devahuti Mataji, Narad Muni.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I didn't hear from above, I don't know anybody mentioned this or not, but it's about when Krishna was in.
Oh, I think Mataji got disconnected maybe. Where is Mataji? I don't see Mataji. Maybe she lost connection. Manju Bhashan Mataji, you want to say more pastime of Narad Muni?
Hare Krishna. In Gopal Chambu, last one, Purva Chambu, after that one, Krishna don't want to go to Mathura. At that time, he advised all that one, what pastime will come afterwards. That one he explained there.
Okay.
He don't want to go out of Vrindavan. He don't want to go out of Vrindavan. But what is the reason? That one for glorification of Srimati Radharani only. You are going outside, because here all are telling Kalankini like that.
Okay, okay, very nice. Thank you. Then Sandeep Prabhu and Aradhya Madhavi Mataji have put in the group. Sandeep Prabhu saying Narad Muni becoming Naradya Gopi in Vrindavan. Yes. And Aradhya Madhavi Mataji is saying Narad Muni giving darshan to Srila Prabhupada. Yes. Very nice. Both are good. Then Sanchita Chakravarti Mataji. Then Devoti Mataji can continue. Okay, Devoti Mataji, you continue.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Sorry, I don't know what happened, Prabhu. Like when Krishna Bhagavan was in a Dwarka and he had a headache, then he told, like, if I get the Raj from.
That was actually just covered.
Okay,
Very
sorry,
nice.
Prabhu.
Very nice. Very nice. But I will not go to the next part of Bhagavatam unless and until the pastime that I'm thinking is narrated from Krishna Leela. Janeshwar Gaurang Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. When towards the end of when Krishna was almost ready to wind up his pastimes on this earthly planet, then Narad Muni went to see him and says, "What will happen to the people of Kali Yuga? Because now you are leaving, Lord." And Krishna says, "I will come as Lord Gauranga."
Hari Bol. Yes, that story is also there in our Gaudiya literature. Very nice. Janeshwar Gaurang Prabhu. Amrit Gaurangi Mataji.
Prabhuji, when Aniruddha was kidnapped and put
Very
in...
nice. Very nice. Very nice. Yes. That whole pastime, Narad Muni is the Sutradhar. He's going and telling everybody. Okay. And Shri Balram Prabhuji is saying to Kansa. You want to unmute and tell us, Shri Balram Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Srila
Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
I think Narad Muni instructed to Kansa about appearance of Sri Krishna because he was killing the kids of Devaki, and then he instructed about the lotus flower, and he said, okay, the eighth child could be anyone.
Yes.
So that was kind of an instruction given to Kansa by Narad Muni.
Yes.
And that was for the pre-appearance of Sri Krishna.
Yes, yes. Wonderful. Thank you, Shri Balram Prabhu. But the pastime that I'm thinking, nobody's telling. Shri Balram Prabhu, please.
Is it mentioned in Krishna book?
Is
it mentioned in Krishna book?
No, not Krishna book. But okay, let me see. Some chat messages are there. Devoti Mataji has got it. Narad Muni told Vrishabhanu Maharaj, when Srimati Radharani appears in this world, then Narad Muni goes to take darshan of Srimati Radharani. Isn't that? And he goes to meet Vrishabhanu Maharaj, that pastime. Has any girl taken birth in your house? And Narad Muni says, well, I have Shridham. He's a boy. No, but any girl? Then Vrishabhanu Maharaj is feeling very ashamed because the girl has not opened her eyes, has not spoken anything. Says, yes, a girl is there, but what to do? She has not opened her eyes, doesn't speak anything, doesn't cry, doesn't laugh. Then Shripad Narad Muni says, let me take her darshan, let me see her. So that beautiful pastime is there where Narad Muni offers his prayers to Shri Radhika. So thank you. I think we have. So the point is, Shripad Narad Muni is everywhere. He's everywhere, from Satyayug to Narsimha Bhagwan pastime to Ram Leela to Krishna Leela to Gauranga Mahaprabhu Leela. He comes as Shrivas Thakur, isn't it? And also Prabhupada Leela. So his Narad Muni is everywhere. Even now he's there. So Narad Muni, Parvat Muni, Dhaumya Rishi, all these, Vyasadev, Shukdev Goswami was there, Bharadwaj Rishi was there, all these great rishis were there. Parshuramji was there, Vasishtha Muni was there. So many great rishis were there. Even Sudarshan Chakra was there. Okay. Now verse number 8. Anyecha munayo brahman brahmarada dayo malah shishyer upeta ajagmuhu kashyapangi rasadayah. And many other sages were also there, like Shri Shukadev Goswami and other purified souls like Kashyap Muni, Angiras, and others, all accompanied by their respective disciples, arrived there. Purport. So again, Shukdev Goswami, Srila Prabhupada writes about all of them, about Kashyap Muni, Angiras. You can all read the purport. So all these great personalities were there. Text number 9. Tan sametan mahabhagan upalabhya vasuttamaha pujayam asa dharmagnyo deshakala vibhagavit. Translation. Shri Bhismadev, who was the best amongst the 8 Vasus, received and welcomed all the great and powerful rishis who were assembled there. For Bhismadev knew perfectly all the religious principles according to time and place. Desha Kala Vibhagavit. Vibhagavit. Bhismadev knew the principles of religion according to time, place, and circumstances. So when all these great personalities arrived there to see Bhismadev, he received and welcomed all of them. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, expert religionists know perfectly well how to adjust religious principles in terms of time and place. There are different climates and situations in different parts of the world, and if one has to discharge his duties to preach the message of Krishna, one must be expert in adjusting things in terms of time and place. So this is very much required. Acharya means one who preaches by his own example, but adjusts the preaching in such a way that based on desh, kal, patra, based on time, place, circumstances, people can receive that message. Tava kripa hale mora katha shuddha be shuniya sabar shoka dukkha je gujibe. Srila Prabhupada wrote this prayer, offered it to Shri Krishna on the Jaladuta, that Taba kripa habe mora katha shuddha habe. If you have mercy on me, then my Krishna katha will become pure. Shuniya sabara shoka dukkha je gujibe. And by hearing this Krishna katha, everyone's sorrows and pains and suffering will go away. That is the power of Vishuddha Krishna katha, pure Krishna katha. So everything has to be adjusted based on time, place, and circumstances. Desh, Kal, Patra. Srila Prabhupada wanted all of us to chant 64 rounds every day. It is mentioned in Sri Prabhupada Lilamrit and Hare Krishna Explosion book by His Holiness Satswarup Das Goswami Maharaj and His Grace Hayagriva Maharaj, His Holiness Hayagriva Maharaj, respectively, that Srila Prabhupada instructed all his disciples to chant 64 rounds every day. But many of the disciples, almost all of the disciples, they could not do it at that time. They had so many services and they were not accustomed to chanting. They said 64 rounds will take 5.5, 6 hours. How can we do it? Very difficult. So please reduce it. So Prabhupada reduced it to 32, but that was also too much. Prabhupada said 16 rounds minimum, but no less. So 16 rounds takes 1.5 to 2 hours for most of us. That is minimum. We must chant qualitatively. Sit in one place and with good quality, sitting on one asana, we should chant our 16 rounds every day in the morning. That is the standard that Srila Prabhupada has set and he expects from us. Whether we are grihasthas or whether we are sannyasis, this rule must be followed. If there is one principle of Krishna consciousness that we can follow, and somehow we have to give up all other principles, then this one principle we must follow. Chanting 16 rounds attentively with good quality during Brahma Muhurta every day. Before we eat breakfast, before we work, before we check our emails, before we check our WhatsApp, we must finish 16 rounds. As soon as we get up, we must just clean our mouth, answer nature's call, clean ourselves, and immediately we should sit and chant. 16 rounds. This is our duty. Srila Prabhupada made so many adjustments, but certain things are principles, certain things are preferences. Whether we keep a shikha or not, that's a matter of preference. It is not a principle. But chanting 16 rounds, following the 4 regulative principles, no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling, observing Ekadashi Vrat. These are principles. There is no compromise on this. Between the age of 8 and 80, Hari Bhakti Vilas says, anyone between the age of 8 to 80 must observe Ekadashi Vrat. So these are principles. These are not details or preferences. So the principles, the acharyas don't compromise on. Acharya doesn't compromise on the principles. But the details can be adjusted to make facility for maximum people to join. So in Krishna consciousness, my dear friends, there are liberals and there are conservatives. The liberals want everyone to come to Krishna consciousness. Maximum people, everyone come. They are the liberals. And the conservatives are very conservative with the principles of Krishna consciousness. They want to preserve the purity of Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada said purity is the force. But Srila Prabhupada also says preaching is the essence. And preaching means to get maximum people under the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Nityananda Prabhu. So that requires making Krishna consciousness attractive to everyone. So the liberals do that. They attract everyone. They are very liberal with the details. Okay, you don't want to wear dhoti kurta, no problem. You wear jeans and t-shirt and come. You don't want to wear sari, you wear salwar kameez and come, no problem. So they are very liberal with the details. They are very accommodating. They adjust the details to get maximum people, but the principles are never compromised. And the conservatives, they are very concerned with the principles, make sure that the purity of Krishna consciousness is maintained. So there are liberals and there are conservatives. Liberals are liberal with the details of Krishna consciousness, and conservatives are conservative with the principles of Krishna consciousness. But when the liberals become liberal with the principles, then the whole movement becomes diluted and there is spiritual fall down. We lose the purity. When the liberals become liberal with the principles, that is wrong. At the same time, when the conservatives become conservative with the details, when the conservatives become conservative with the details, with the preferences, then we become fanatic and we drive people away from Krishna consciousness. So that is also not good. Like enforcing, hey, Ekadashi, why you are eating? You should do Nirjal. So enforcing those principles on others, that is not good. That is not good. That is the conservatives becoming conservative with the details, with the preferences. That is not good. So best policy is to be conservative with oneself and liberal with others. That is the best balance. Be conservative with yourself, but be liberal with others. Srila Prabhupada was very liberal, very liberal. He made so many adjustments based on time, place, and circumstances. His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj once asked Srila Prabhupada about dress code. What devotees should wear when we go on book distribution? Should we wear dhoti kurta like we normally do? Or should we wear shirt and pant? Srila Prabhupada said, whatever helps you approach people and get maximum people to buy books and become interested in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, you do that. So that's a detail. Prabhupada said you adjust the details, no problem. Then Srila Prabhupada was really very merciful, allowing Matajis to do deity worship. It was never seen before. Allowing Matajis on the altar and giving the Gayatri mantra to Matajis. This is only Srila Prabhupada did that. because he wanted to give an opportunity to everyone. In Kali Yuga, we are all Shudras. Kalau Shudra Sambhavat. We are all Shudras in Kali Yuga. So Srila Prabhupada wants to give everyone an opportunity to make spiritual progress. So Srila Prabhupada adjusted many things as an Acharya. Srila Prabhupada says there are many different climates and situations in different parts of the world. One has to discharge duties to preach the message, expertly adjusting things. Srila Prabhupada was in Mayapur. He had come to visit the ashram of one of his godbrothers, one of the Gaudiya Mats, when Srila Prabhupada was in Mayapur. This was in the 1970s. And a new devotee was accompanying Srila Prabhupada. Many devotees were accompanying. For that particular meeting, a new devotee was also accompanying Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada was inside the mutt, meeting with his dear godbrothers. And this Western American boy, Brahmachari, new Brahmachari, he was sitting outside. So it was quite hot and humid, and he was sweating, and his tilak, got washed away with his sweat. So he wanted to put fresh tilak, and he was carrying the tilak with him. So he took out the tilak, but he couldn't find any water to do achaman and to prepare the tilak paste. So he spat in his palm. He spat in his palm, and with his saliva, he prepared the Gopi Chandan tilak. And one local Indian Gaudiya Mat Brahmachari saw this, and he was aghast. What is this disciple of Swami Maharaj? That's what they call Srila Prabhupada, Swami Maharaj. Because Srila Prabhupada's sannyas name was Swami. He was Abhay Charana Aravinda, the name he got from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. Then the Gaudiya Mat sannyasi leaders gave him the title Bhakti Vedanta because of his great scholarship. Even as a Grihastha, he was given the title Bhakti Vedanta Prabhu. So he became Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Prabhu. Then Srila Prabhupada took Vanaprastha, and then when he took sannyas, he was given the sannyas name Swami. So his name became Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Srila Prabhupada wrote AC Bhakti Vedanta Swami. That is the name. And of course, we add Srila before that as an honorific. Srila Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj. We add a suffix also. And later on, the disciples of Srila Prabhupada gave him the title Prabhupada. Prabhupada. So Srila Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada. So this brahmachari of the Gaudiya Mat, he was very shocked to see that this initiated brahmachari of ISKCON, disciple of Srila Swami Maharaj, what is he doing? He's using his saliva to prepare Gopi Chandan. Just now you were telling about the glory of Gopi Chandan. It is the raj of the lotus feet of the gopis from the Gopi Talav in Dwarka, where the gopis had gone to meet Krishna. It is the tears of separation from Krishna mixed with the dust from their lotus feet and the sandalwood paste on their face fell down with their tears, and it became Gopi Chandan. That's what we put on our body at 12 places. So this Gopi Chandan is so sacred, so holy. Gopi Chandan is mentioned in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. I will be very happy if one of you can raise your hand, some of you can raise your hand and tell me where in Chaitanya Charitamrita Gopi Chandan is mentioned. I'm counting till 3. Oh, wow. Sundari Gopi Mataji, go ahead.
Prabhuji, I don't know whether it is right or not, but that when the boat got stuck but it was a narration that was told. It was a story that was told.
That story is there of Shripad Madhvacharya.
Yes, yeah, Madhvacharya.
But no, that's not. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mahaprabhu mentions. Yes, Kaivalya Prabhuji, please bless us with your words. Hare Krishna.
I was thinking about Madhvacharya, because it was written in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that Madhvacharya went there and he Krishna came in the dream and everything, but I do not know any other.
No, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's perfect. Shripad Madhvacharya, that story is mentioned. Shripad Madhvacharya got Gopi Chandan, and from inside Gopi Chandan, Udupi Krishna manifested. Yeah, that's a very wonderful story. Can anyone tell from Chaitanya Charitamrita where Mahaprabhu talks about Gopi Chandan, that we should apply Gopi Chandan? Manju Bhashini Mataji?
I want to tell that one in Radha Yatra, he applied for this one garland and this one Gopi Chandan.
Sandalwood.
Mahaprabhu, sorry.
Sandalwood, not Gopi Chandan.
Okay.
But good. So should I tell or should we keep it as a homework? Okay, Ananya, go ahead, beta.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam, Jai Śrīla Prabhupada. Prabhuji, I just heard this from one of my senior Vaishnavas where Mahaprabhu was not yet a preacher or a devotee yet. Mahaprabhu was teaching Vyakaran as a teacher, and one student did not come with a Gopi Chandan tilak on his head, and Mahaprabhu sent him back and asked him to put the tilak, and until he returns, there wouldn't be any class. So that student had to go back, put the tilak, and then come and then sit in the class. So everybody had tilak. So Mahaprabhu told that everybody must wear a tilak. And
okay, very wonderful. But from Chaitanya Charitamrita, someone can give a reference where Mahaprabhu specifically instructs that Gopi Chandan, the importance of Gopi Chandan should be applied. Okay. So this is from the Madhya Leela of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in Sanatan Shiksha. In Sanatan Shiksha, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he is advising Srila Sanatan Goswami what different topics he should write about in his Hari Bhakti Vilas, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructs Sanatan Goswami that write about Brahma Murta Japa. So if anybody has a doubt where this Brahma Murta Japa is coming from, why Srila Prabhupada wanted us to get up in the morning and chant before sunrise during Brahma Murta, well, it comes from Sanatan Shiksha, Madhya Leela of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructs Srila Sanatan Goswami to write about the importance of Brahma Murta sadhana. And then the purport, Srila Prabhupada elaborates on that. Devotees should get up during Brahma Murta, chant. And there, the importance of Gopi Chandan is mentioned. That one, please write about Gopi Chandan. The importance of Gopi Chandan. Mahaprabhu says. So there are some Gaudiya Vaishnavas who say that why you ISKCON devotees put Gopi Chandan. In Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visits Sri Vrindavan Dham, it is mentioned that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu applied tilak with the Raj of Radha Kund. All of you have read? When Mahaprabhu discovered Radha Kund, Sham Kund, Mahaprabhu took the mud from Shri Radha Kund and applied Dwadash tilak. That reference is there. But every day, before going to Vrindavan, when Mahaprabhu was in Jagannath Puri, Mahaprabhu applied Gopi Chandan tilak, and Mahaprabhu's followers also applied Gopi Chandan tilak. Radha Kund tilak also is bona fide, absolutely. We must put Radha Kund tilak also. But Gopi Chandan tilak is also recommended by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all our acharyas. Like in Hari Bhakti Vilas, it is mentioned. Srila Sanatan Goswami writes, even in the Puranic literatures, even in the Puranas, there is extensive mention of Gopi Chandan and the importance of Gopi Chandan. So we should be completely convinced that why we wear Gopi Chandan. Gopi Chandan also is Gopi Chandan. It is coming from gopis. It is giving us Vraj Bhakti only. This is the Chandan of love in separation of the gopis. So there are many devotees, what they do is they buy Gopi Chandan and they have Radha Kund tilak also, and they mix little bit Radha Kund tilak in that Gopi Chandan. They mix little Vraj Raj and then they apply. That's how I put my tilak. I have Gopi Chandan, I put little Radha Kund tilak mixed in it and some Vraj Raj mixed in it. And then you can apply. So you have everything. So this devotee, this brahmachari from ISKCON, He was preparing Gopi Chandan Tilak with his saliva. So this Gaudiya Math Brahmachari was aghast to see this. He said, Krishna, what are you doing? This is unacceptable. This is Muchi. You're spitting in your own hand, putting tilak in that, and you're putting it. What is this? This is like you're just making yourself completely contaminated, dirty. And he started chastising this ISKCON devotee. And hearing the commotion, Srila Prabhupada came out. He was meeting with his godbrothers inside. He came out. His godbrothers also came out. What's going on? And he saw this Gaudiya Math Brahmachari is chastising the ISKCON Brahmachari. What do you think Srila Prabhupada did? Srila Prabhupada told the Gaudiya Math Brahmachari, come inside, let me talk to you. Srila Prabhupada did not chastise the Gaudiya Math Brahmachari in front of the ISKCON devotees. He called him inside and told him, what you're saying is right. One should never spit in one's hand, and one should definitely not put Gopi Chandan Tilak in our spit and then apply it on the forehead. It's just unacceptable, wrong. But please understand that this boy, he's an American boy. He's born and brought up in a culture where they know nothing about Vaishnavism. They know absolutely nothing about Gaudiya Vaishnavism. They know nothing about the importance of applying tilak. And he's just an 18-year-old boy. He could be enjoying in America, breaking all the 4 regulative principles. Even following the 4 regulative principles is completely foreign to their culture. But he has given all that up. He has given up his parents, his education, his job, his money, his sense gratification. He has left everything. And he has come with me to see Sridham Mayapur. And it was the desire of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada that Americans, Europeans, Africans, everyone, Australians, they should all come to Shri Vrindavan and they should chant the holy name, Jai Shachinandan, Gaura Hari. And that prediction, that desire of our acharyas is being fulfilled by these boys and girls. If you openly chastise him like this, instead of getting encouraged, he will get discouraged. So appreciate the good in him. Vaishnavera gunagrahi na dekhaye dosh, kaya mana vakya kare, Vaishnava santosh. This Gaudiya Math Brahmachari later on became a very big sannyasi in Gaudiya Math. And even today, he remembers this instruction of Srila Prabhupada. Encourage. Desh kal patra. Adjust according to the time, place and circumstances and somehow encourage people. Prabhupada said slowly he will understand how to put tilak. But don't publicly chastise him like this. He will get discouraged. So we should encourage devotees, not discourage devotees. There will be mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone. Is there anyone here who has not made any mistake in Krishna consciousness? Impossible. We all make mistakes. So many mistakes. Mistakes in observing Ekadashi, mistakes in doing Achaman, mistakes in putting Gopi Chandan Tilak. For a long time, I used to stand and do Achaman. I had this habit. I used to wear chappal and do Achaman. And then Amarendra Prabhu chastised me. He said, what is this? Muchi behavior. Remove your chappal, sit down and properly do Achaman. So for years, I was making that mistake. So I have made so many mistakes. But by being in the association of senior, superior devotees who are more advanced than us, we learn. So Krishna consciousness is about learning and making advancement, not about discouraging others when they make mistakes. So very important. Desh Kal Patra, how to adjust. Sri Bhismadev was one of the 12 great authorities in preaching this cult of devotional service. And therefore he could receive and welcome all the powerful sages assembled there at his deathbed from all parts of the universe. So the question may be asked, how did Bhismadev receive everyone? Srila Prabhupada answers here. Please listen carefully. Srila Prabhupada says, Bhismadev was certainly unable at that time to welcome and receive them physically because he was neither at his home nor in a normal healthy condition. But Bhismadev was quite fit by the activities of his sound mind, and therefore he could utter sweet words with hearty expressions, and all of them were thus well received. With his words, he received all of them. Even though he could not get up, offer them dandavat pranam, offer them a sitting place, offer them water, nothing he could do. He was helpless. But even in that helpless condition, he received them with sweet words, with his gestures, with his eyes. Verse 10. Krishnam cha tat prabhavadnya asinam jagadishwaram ridhistham pujayamasa mayayopatta vigraham. Lord Shri Krishna is situated in everyone's heart, yet Krishna manifests his transcendental form by his internal potency. This very Lord Krishna was sitting before Shri Bhismadev, and since Bhismadev knew of Krishna's glories, he worshipped Krishna duly. Hari Bol. Krishnam chatat prabhavadnya. Bhismadev knew of Krishna's glories. So he pujayam asa. He worshipped Krishna. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, Krishna is omnipotent. He is present always in his eternal abode, Goloka Vrindavan. Goloka eva nivasati akhilatma bhuta. And still, he is present in everyone's heart. And even within every invisible atom. So Krishna is present always in his abode, Goloka Vrindavan, but he is present everywhere in this material world, also in all our hearts, and also in every atom, as Vishnu, as Kshirodakshay Vishnu. And how does Krishna do this? He does so by his internal potency, Yoga Maya. The external potency or material energy of Krishna has nothing to do with his eternal form. Krishna Surya Sama, Maya hai andhakar. Jahan Krishna taha nahi, Maya adhikar. Text 11. The sons of Maharaj Pandu were sitting silently nearby, overtaken with affection for their dying grandfather. It was very difficult for Yudhishthir Maharaj, for Bhim, Arjun, Nakul, Sahadev to see Bhishmadev in this situation, where he was completely covered with Arjun's arrows. It is said that even a finger could not be placed anywhere on the body of Bhishmadev where arrow was not there. Between two arrows, even a finger width distance was not there. So many arrows Arjun had shot to bring Bhishmadev down on the 10th day of the battle of Kurukshetra. To see one's beloved grandfather, one's beloved grandfather who had brought them up with so much love and care and concern, to see him in this state was very painful for the Pandavas. The sons of Maharaj Pandu were sitting silently nearby, overtaken with affection for their dying grandfather. Seeing this, Bhishmadev congratulated them with feeling. There were tears of ecstasy in his eyes, for he was overwhelmed by love and affection. There were tears of ecstasy. Prashraya prema sangata. Anuraga ashraihi. Tears of ecstasy. Tears of ecstasy. When Maharaj Pandu died, his 5 sons were all small children. And naturally, they were brought up under the affection of elderly members of the royal family, especially Shri Bhishmadev. Arjun and all his brothers, Maharaj, they had played on the lap of Shri Bhishmadev and Vidur. At the last stage of his life, when Shri Bhishmadev saw his most exalted grandsons, headed by Maharaj Yudhishthir, sitting very gently at his side, the great warrior grandfather could not check his loving tears, which were automatically flowing from his eyes. This is very important. How to be sensitive to different situations. Bhishmadev as a Mahajan is teaching us. And Krishna is teaching us. Krishna told the Pandavas to dress opulently so that Bhishmadev will be happy to see them. Well situated, finally, after so many trials and tribulations. I remember there is a very wonderful devotee family in Mumbai. Prabhu, he was a lawyer. He also passed away last year. And his good wife, I'm forgetting Mataji's name. Kirtida Mataji, I believe. So Mahaprabhu and I think Kirtita Mataji, his good wife. So she was having some sort of cancer and she was hospitalized in the last stages of cancer and she was going to leave her body. But I think her grandchild was getting married and somehow the only muhurat available was that time. Then for months there was no muhurat. So everything was already planned and they were all set to get married when Mataji's health deteriorated. So she was, Palika Mataji. Yes. Sundari Gop Mataji is correcting. Yes, Palika Mataji. Palika Mataji. Palika Mataji. Kirtita Mataji is Vrishabhanu Prabhu's good wife. Yes, so Palika Mataji and Mahaprabhu Prabhu. So Palika Mataji's health deteriorated and she had to be hospitalized just a day or two before the marriage. So she was doing okay and then her health deteriorated. So she had to be hospitalized. But now everything was already set for the marriage and then there were no muhurtas in the near future. So Palika Mataji told the family that go ahead with the marriage. Because so many Maharajas were going to come, so many sannyasis were going to come, everything was planned. And now just to cancel the wedding because her health was deteriorating. And she already knew she has end-stage cancer. She said, please don't cancel the wedding. I'll be there. I will join on Zoom call. Not Zoom, but video call, FaceTime. I will join. So she joined. And on the day of wedding, she was in the hospital. In the hospital, we have to wear the hospital gown. But she told her husband, Mahaprabhu Prabhu, that please get my best sari and all my best jewelry for me. And she dressed up in the hospital. She was leaving her body, but she dressed up somehow in a sari, makeup, jewelry, everything. And then like that, she went on FaceTime during the wedding. And when she was asked why you're doing all this, she said, only to give happiness to this devotee couple who are getting married. So that they should not feel that I am here in the hospital gown, in the hospital bed, suffering, and they are happily getting married. No, I want to make them feel comfortable. This is called sensitivity to situations. Is it comfortable to wear a sari in a hospital bed when you are dying from cancer? Absolutely no. The hospital's gown is meant because it is very comfortable. And also it is easier for the healthcare team to examine the patients in a gown. But she did that austerity for the pleasure of others. This is very nice, very sensitive. So like that. So Bhismadev also was very sensitive. He saw that because he is dying, the Pandavas, although they have become the kings now of the whole world, but seeing me in this condition, they are feeling very sad. So now let's see what Bhismadev does to make them feel better. So the Pandavas were sitting next to Bhismadev very silently because they were overtaken by grief to see their dying grandfather. Seeing this, Bhismadev congratulated them with feeling. There were tears of ecstasy in his eyes and he was overwhelmed by love and affection. So he congratulated them. At the last stage of his life, when Bhismadev saw his most exalted grandsons headed by Maharaj Yudhishthir sitting very gently at his side, the great warrior grandfather could not check his loving tears, which were flowing automatically from his eyes. He remembered the great tribulations suffered by his most pious grandsons. So he congratulated them to make them feel better. But there is something else Bhismadev is going to do. Verse 12. Aho kashtam aho nyayam yad yuyam dharmanandana jivitum narhatha klishtham vipradharma chutashraya. Very important verse this is. Shri Bhismadev is saying, Aho kashtam aho anyayam. Oh, what terrible suffering and what terrible injustices you good souls suffered for being the sons of religion personified. Yad yuyam dharmanandana. You are dharmanandana, especially Yudhishthir Maharaj, is son of Dharmaraj, Yamraj. Instead, in spite of being personifications of dharma, you suffered so much. You did not deserve to remain alive under those tribulations. Jivitum narhata klishtam. You were not supposed to suffer all those reversals in life. Yet you were protected by the Brahmanas, by Krishna, and by religion. Brahmanas, God, and religion. Dharma means religion. Achyuta means Krishna, and Ashraya. They were protected by the Vipra. Vipra means Brahmana. Vipra, Dharma, Achyuta, Ashraya. You were protected. You were taken shelter of Krishna, of the Brahmanas, and of Dharma. Still, you went through so much difficulty. Now, the purport is very illuminating. So let's read. It's the last verse for today. Purport to verse 12. Srila Prabhupada ji writes, Maharaj Yudhishthir was disturbed due to the great massacre in the battle of Kurukshetra. Shri Bhismadev could understand this, that the brothers are very much pained. He could understand this. Now see the sensitivity. And therefore he spoke first of the terrible sufferings of Maharaj Yudhishthir. Maharaj Yudhishthir was put into difficulty by injustice only. And the battle of Kurukshetra was fought just to counteract this injustice. Therefore, Maharaj Yudhishthir should not regret the great massacre. Maharaj Yudhishthir was not the aggressor. Maharaj Yudhishthir was the victim. It was Duryodhan who was the aggressor, who had been killed because of this war. So there was nothing for Maharaj Yudhishthir to feel sorry about. As long as a person is fully in cooperation with the wishes of Lord Krishna, as long as one is guided by the bona fide Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, and as long as one is strictly following religious principles, one has no cause for despondency. My dear friends, this verse and this sentence of Srila Prabhupada, we must understand and imprint it in our heart and consciousness. I'm going to read this verse again. This is very, 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 very important. Let this sentence of Srila Prabhupada become the motto of our life. I'm reading it again. Very important. Srila Prabhupada Ji Maharaj is saying, as long as a person is fully in cooperation with the wishes of Lord Krishna, guided by the bona fide Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, and strictly following religious principles, one has no cause for despondency. Let us think about this a little. We suffer because of our sins. If we analyze our life, many times we get into trouble because of either some act of commission or omission from our side. Either we do something wrong, or we fail to speak up, or we fail to do something right. Omission or commission. Either we commit something, commission, or we omission. We fail to do something. We omit doing something good. That's why we suffer in life. But if we are always aligned with the desires of Krishna, with the instructions of Krishna, as Krishna gives them in Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, if we are under the guidance of sadhu gurus, Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas, and we are following the religious principles, if we have taken shelter of Achyut, Dharma, and Vipra, we have nothing to worry, my dear friends. Even if the greatest calamity comes, if we are living according to Dharma, if our acharan is Dharma Anusar, if we are under the guidance of Shri Guru and the Vaishnavas, and if we are living our life the way Krishna wants us to live. Now, these are non-different. You see, Krishna says, surrender to me, Guru says, surrender to Krishna. So, following the orders of Sadhu, Guru, Vaishnavas, and following the orders of Krishna is completely non-different. And what is Dharma? Dharmam Sakshat Bhagavat Pranite. Dharma is what Krishna has spoken. Vedayasya sarvaya raham vedyo vedantakrit vedavidevachaham. Krishna is the source of all the Vedas. So Vedas are taking us to Krishna. Sadhu Guru are taking us to Krishna. And Krishna is inviting us to him. So there is no difference between Krishna, between the Sadhu Gurus and the Shastra, which teaches the Dharma Shastra. There is no difference. So basically, if we are following Shri Guru, Shri Krishna, then we have nothing to fear in this world. The greatest calamity can befall us, The greatest calamity can come, but we have nothing to fear. On the other hand, if we are acting against dharma, if we are breaking the regulative principles, if we are disobeying the orders of Sadhu Guru, and if we are disobeying the instructions of Shri Krishna, then that becomes the great source of anxiety, because we know that now we are not under the protection of Guru and Krishna. Isn't it? Have you all experienced this? I have experienced it. If we do something wrong, then we are by ourselves. Then we don't feel that protection of Krishna. On the other hand, if we are following the orders of Guru and Krishna, then we have nothing to fear. Nothing to fear. But when there is contamination in the heart, there is always guilty consciousness. We are feeling guilty. Galat kiya. So then we are always afraid. It becomes a source of bhai. But bhajahu re mana Shri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charanaravinda. But if we take shelter of Krishna Charanaravinda, the lotus feet of Krishna, then we become Abhay. So this is very important. There's a story in this regard, but we don't have time. Very nice story about how when a person is dharma anusar acharan, if one is working according to dharma, then one has nothing to fear. Whereas when one is deviating from the principles of dharma, deviating away from the words of Sadhu Guru, then one is always very fearful, because that protection is not there. So Srila Prabhupada has given us a very, very important sutra here. As long as a person is fully in cooperation with the wishes of Krishna, guided by the bona fide Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, and strictly following the religious principle, one has no cause for despondency, however trying the circumstances of the life are. Shri Bhismadev, as one of the Mahajans, authorities in the line, wanted to impress this point upon the Pandavas, that Pandavas, you are devotees of Krishna, you were guided by Krishna, you were guided by great authorities like Dhaumya Muni, like Vyasadev Muni. You have nothing to fear. You always followed dharma. You have nothing to fear. Don't worry, sin cannot touch you. So like that. Now we have run out of time. So we'll continue this, Krishna willing, from verse number 13 on Tuesday. Grantharaj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions? Yes, Sharanagat Mataji.
Sorry. Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Very nice class. I have two questions. So I'll quickly go over the first one, that it was mentioned that like you can adjust the details but not the principle, but sometimes it is very hard to recognize that. I mean, you need a guidance. So in one of our Bhagavatam class, in the very beginning when we were discussing, and Srila Prabhupada's purport many a times there is that women are less intelligent and generally women don't like that. And I used to say that no, Krishna is ultimately, he is the only Purush. And so many different way I tried to convince. This topic came again and again, but like today's discussion, everyone was saying that like our daughters who are college going and all, they don't like it because when they read the Bhagavatam. So couple of Matajis in our group, they are initiated, Brahman initiated. So they were saying that, and a person who is not much into ISKCON, she was convincing that Prabhupada's purports, I mean, kind of ignore it. And if you go to the many other Puranas, like women are given so much importance, Lakshmi Devi. So I was stressing that no, Prabhupada's you have to accept whatever is written. There must be different reasons, because we grew up and we had sanskaras, but here those sanskaras. So it's better to accept it. Tell your daughters that we have physical limitation. Not many people liked it when I was current, and I felt I don't know if I did it right today, and today only it happened and we came across this. So I was just thinking about whether it was considered as a details, or is it comes under sub principle that accepting this part that Prabhupada is repeating again and again in the book. How should we take that when we have to convince others?
Prabhupada does not say this. It is the Shastra. It's our Vedic scriptures that say that. And it does not refer to women being less intelligent on the spiritual platform. On the material platform, it is a fact that women are more interested in makeup, in looking nice, in wearing nice clothes. Can anybody deny that? Who is going to beauty parlors? Are the men going to beauty parlors or women are going to beauty parlors? So who is on bodily consciousness? Who is more prone to being on bodily consciousness? It is the women, because women are beautiful. Krishna has blessed women with beauty. We say beautiful woman, we don't say beautiful man. So beauty, modesty, shyness, chastity, these are qualities of women. That's how Krishna has made them. Men are supposed to face the stressful elements in society. Men are supposed to go earn money and provide and protect the family. That's how men are made. Men have more testosterone. Women have more estrogen. This cannot be denied. Testosterone builds muscles. So the less intelligent that the Shastras say, not Srila Prabhupada.
Right. Yes.
Srila Prabhupada is simply repeating the Shastras in a way that we can understand. That refers to the tendency of a woman to get stuck on the bodily platform. So that tendency is there, that risk is there for a woman to be on the bodily platform. But this does not refer to Vaishnavis. This absolutely does not refer to Vaishnavis. One Mataji, when she read this in Srila Prabhupada's books, in the Shastra and in the purports, women being considered less intelligent. So she also did not like it. At that time, Srila Prabhupada was traveling with Gaur Sundar and his good wife, Govinda Dasi Mataji. We have all heard of Govinda Dasi Mataji. She's a very senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada. She served Srila Prabhupada in Hawaii and drew many of the paintings in the earlier books of Srila Prabhupada. Very great devotee, Govinda Dasi. So this Mataji wrote a letter to Govinda Dasi and told, you are very close to Srila Prabhupada, you travel with Prabhupada, you serve Srila Prabhupada, you cook for Srila Prabhupada. Can you ask Srila Prabhupada, are women less intelligent? So Govinda Dasi asked Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, are women less intelligent? You want to know the Srila Prabhupada's answer?
Yes. Yes.
Govinda Dasi asked Srila Prabhupada, are women less intelligent? And Srila Prabhupada said, yes. If they think they are women, then they are less intelligent. If they have the Abhiman, I am Krishna Dasi, then they are most intelligent. Jai Bhaje Krishna, say bada chatur. If a man thinks I am man, he's also less intelligent. So that distinction is there only in the material realm.
Right.
Less intelligent. It absolutely does not make any difference on the spiritual plane. And we are on a spiritual plane. We are supposed to be on a spiritual plane. This is a spiritual society. International Society for Krishna Consciousness. There is no question of women being less intelligent. Absolutely no question. In fact, the greatest devotees are women. Ramya Kajid Upasana Vrajavadhu Vargeneya Kalpita. The greatest devotees are the gopis of Vrindavan. They are more intelligent than the Yagdik Brahmanas who are chanting mantras and doing different mudras and etc. Isn't it? Because the girls may have more tendency to be in a bodily consciousness, but if they offer their body, their hearts, Krishna, then they become the greatest devotees. Because girls also, ladies also have a tendency to take shelter, isn't it?
Yes.
Either you take shelter of your father, you take shelter of your elder brother, you take shelter of your husband, you take shelter of your grown-up sons. So what happens when a woman takes shelter of Krishna? Because they have a natural tendency to take shelter, whereas Purush Abhiman, men have Purush Abhiman. I am the protector, I provide for the family. So they have this false ego. Abhiman, Ahankar. But a woman is simple-hearted. She likes to take shelter. She likes to be under the protection. So if a woman uses that natural proclivity to take shelter and seek protection and dovetails it to the lotus feet of Krishna, seeks shelter in Krishna consciousness, then a woman becomes the most simple-hearted, loving, devoted Vaishnavi,
Right. Yeah.
who becomes source of shelter and source of inspiration to all the devotees, men and women alike.
Yes, yeah, Prabhuji, thank you. Yeah, this all the points, these like almost we covered all this point that you are saying, and I didn't mention that point that you were saying about the body being going attractive or feel that woman, but I was saying that like we have too much attachment to our children, and like so we went till that like we can't take sannyas because like all these things. So I was saying the same thing that like whatever attachment we have towards our house and children, if we can direct it towards the Krishna, it can be great. But we were giving example of Mirabai and Sanatan Goswami, but I was saying that like that platform we are not yet there. So assuming like right now at this stage when we are conscious of our body all the time.
Tikadne pustakad, Bonds of Love, either in the upper shelf or lower. Bonds of Love. Yes, Madhav, please continue.
Yes, Prabhuji, but then I felt that like I went little hard on them because all these points were covered, but then I don't know, like, I mean, but I felt really good the way you explained.
Right side. Yeah, so Mataji, when we are dealing with newcomers, it is best to avoid these discussions.
Right.
We should talk about Siddhanta, we should talk about the sweetness of Krishna consciousness, Krishna Lila, the power of the holy name, instead of getting distracted by these discussions. Because everything cannot be understood just by explanation.
Right.
There are certain things that require some realization. And that comes with bhajan. If we don't have the bhajan shakti, then we cannot understand everything just by arguments. So we should focus on Srila Prabhupada's broad-mindedness. Has there been an acharya on this planet who has allowed Vaishnavas on the altar in the temples? So how can we say that Srila Prabhupada is saying women are less intelligent? He's the acharya who has adjusted everything. Srila Prabhupada gave Gayatri mantra. Nobody, even in the Gaudiya Math, they don't give Gayatri mantra to Matajis. It's only in ISKCON. Special contribution of Srila Prabhupada, because he completely broad-minded. Srila Prabhupada looked at all these Matajis as gopis. Srila Prabhupada asked, why are you allowing them on the altar? Prabhupada said, oh, so many gopis will take birth in ISKCON in female bodies. So they want to worship their Shyam Sundar. Let them worship. Who am I to stop them? Srila Prabhupada's attitude. So you should focus on things like that. This book, A Bond of Love.
Bond of Love.
You can buy it. It's on Amazon.
Okay.
A Bond of Love. It is a nice thick book filled with Srila Prabhupada and his spiritual daughters. Filled with, I think, hundreds of memories written by the female disciples of Srila Prabhupada. How Srila Prabhupada's love was so great, and how they felt sheltered and protected against Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada respected Vaishnavis. Srila Prabhupada protected Vaishnavis, nurtured Vaishnavis, and was completely non-discriminating.
Right.
Absolutely non-discriminating. Srila Prabhupada loved his female disciples, and the female disciples loved Srila Prabhupada. Once Srila Prabhupada was asked about his female disciples who had, for his sake, traveled abroad, went to England to preach. Malati Devi, Shri Jamuna Devi, and Shri Janaki Devi. Srila Prabhupada said, I can cut my neck for them, for these Vaishnavis, Srila Prabhupada said. And when Srila Prabhupada was traveling in a train one time, Srila Prabhupada was hungry and he asked for some rice. And Jamuna Devi wanted to cook. And in the train's pantry, kitchen, it was very dirty and contaminated. So they did not allow Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada's disciples, female disciples, Yamuna Devi, Malti Devi, to cook. And Jamuna Devi and Malti Devi said, you allow us to cook? They told the train cooks, allow us to cook, otherwise we'll jump off the train.
Yes.
They got scared. Okay, cook. So Prabhupada loved his female disciples, and the female disciples loved Srila Prabhupada. So these books should be shared.
Yes, I will.
Bond of Love. Prabhupada's love for his female disciples. Srila Prabhupada once called Shri Bhurijan Maharaj, one of our Gurujan. You know, His Grace Bhurijan Prabhu. We all
Yes.
know. We have read his
Yes.
Japa book. We
Yes,
have heard his wonderful talks. He's one of our gurus in ISKCON. So, Shri Bhurijan Maharaj, he's a very great Grihastha Vaishnava guru in our movement. He's written beautiful books, by the way, on our Bhakti Vaibhava course. Unveiling the Lotus Feet, his commentary on the first 2 cantos of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, like that, many beautiful books. So, His Grace Bhurijan Prabhu, very senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada, he was doing revolutionary preaching in Hong Kong on the order of Prabhupada. American disciple, and Srila Prabhupada was preaching in Australia, and there was an Australian very beautiful actress, and she took to Krishna consciousness, and Srila Prabhupada initiated her and gave her the name Jagat Tarini Mataji, Her Grace Jagat Tarini Devi. And she said, what are the instructions for me? Now, Srila Prabhupada wanted to find a good Vaishnava husband for her. So Srila Prabhupada said, you get married to my disciple Bhurijan Prabhu. So Jagat Tarini Mataji and Bhurijan Prabhu were married. Bhurijan Prabhu is American. Jagat Tarini Mataji is a very beautiful, young, successful Australian actress. She has never seen her husband, not even photographs. First time they meet in their wedding ceremony. Arranged marriage. Can you imagine this? American boy and an Australian actress having an arranged marriage. Even in India, we don't see such marriages now, where the husband and wife meet for the first time, see each other for the first time at the wedding ceremony. And now it has been more than 50 years. They are happily married. Guru and Guruma.
Yeah.
Happily married, exemplary Vaishnavas, exemplary devotees in our movement. So they left everything. Bhurijan Prabhu left the comfort of America, and Jagat Tarini Mataji left the comfort of Australia, and they came to Hong Kong. Hong Kong, which was nothing Krishna conscious there. And Srila Prabhupada told them to stay there and preach. And against all odds, with such hardships, they were preaching. After some time, Srila Prabhupada visited Hong Kong. And he called Bhurijan Prabhu and asked him, how are you doing? He said, yes, Prabhu, you're struggling. You're doing okay. How is your wife doing? Jagat Tarini Devi. And Srila Prabhupada said, Bhurijan Prabhu told Srila Prabhupada, it's been hard for her. Not easy for a lady to adjust so much. First of all, a husband who she has never met before, a new country, and so much sacrifice. So she's finding it a little tough. And no association, Mataji. We all want association, isn't it? And they have no association in Hong Kong. In those days, there was no Facebook, no Zoom calls, nothing. Just completely disconnected for the rest of the world. So no association. So they were it was quite difficult for them. So Bhurijan Prabhu told Prabhupada, yeah, for her it's quite a challenge. Prabhupada said, go call her. So Bhurijan Prabhu went and called his wife, Jagat Tarini Devi. So she came, offered her obeisance to Srila Prabhupada. And like a loving father, Srila Prabhupada asked her, my dear daughter, how are you doing? Said Prabhupada, our only solace is that we are here serving you, fulfilling your wish, your desire. So because I'm serving you, I'm happy. Srila Prabhupada said, you are serving me very nicely. I'm very proud of you, my child. Prabhupada took out his golden ring from his finger and gave it to Jagat Tarini Devi. Such an act of love. So Jagat Tarini Devi immediately wore that ring, and to date, that is her most prized possession. That gold ring. And then they decided that, Prabhupada has lost his ring now. He gave his ring to us. So we should make a golden ring for Prabhupada. So they somehow saved up money and they got a 24-carat gold ring for Prabhupada, which had the letter P on it. It's a ring, golden ring, 24-carat gold with the letter P for Prabhupada. And they gifted Srila Prabhupada sometime later. So Prabhupada should not feel I gave my ring, so immediately they are paying me back. Not like that. So they were very sensitive. But later on in the next visit, they gifted Prabhupada that ring. And Prabhupada immediately wore it. And Prabhupada would always keep it on his finger. See the reciprocation.
Yes.
And it said P. So Prabhupada always kept it with him. And one devotee in the presence of Bhurijan Prabhu. Now nobody knew that Bhurijan Prabhu has gifted that ring to Prabhupada. They gave it privately. So one devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, new ring. Oh, it says P on it. Very nice ring, golden ring. Who gave it, Prabhupada? So Prabhupada looked at Bhurijan Prabhu and said, somebody gave. Because he didn't want to put Bhurijan Prabhu on the spot. At the same time, he glanced at him to acknowledge that I have not forgotten, you gave, I know, but I don't want to tell it publicly. Oh, somebody gave. So the devotee said, very nice ring. Then there was another Mataji who was doing very great service, very great preaching. I'm not remembering all the details now, but I have heard this in His Grace Bhurijan Prabhu's memories on YouTube. Very beautiful, 1.5 hour memories. So he says, so some another devotee came who was doing very wonderful service, and again Srila Prabhupada took out that ring and gifted that devotee. That ring that said P, gifted that devotee. And Prabhupada said, you can have this ring. So then that devotee said, oh Prabhupada, but someone must have given you with a lot of love. Prabhupada said, yes, but I'm not attached. So see, Srila Prabhupada is accepting the gold ring, but he's teaching a principle that he's wearing these rings only because devotees are gifting him to make them happy. And Prabhupada is not attached also. He gives them away. He's not attached. So such stories of Srila Prabhupada, his loving exchanges with his male and female disciples should be shared. The sweetness of Krishna consciousness should be discussed. And these topics, which are difficult to understand for materialistic people, should not be discussed. It will simply agitate them.
Yeah, I follow that, Prabhuji, but like 4 or 5 years, we had been like meeting almost every day. And again, I try to avoid this subject, but when they try to reject the purport and, say something against the Prabhupada, I can't take it. So today was like that day that I said, I have to really, I have to tell them that like, oh, you have to accept these things. I mean, kind of. So
that is Ardha Kukuti Nyaya. We cannot omit even one word from any purport of Srila Prabhupada.
Agree, totally.
We have to accept Srila Prabhupada as it is.
Yes.
Because Srila Prabhupada is perfect Acharya.
Yes, that's sure.
You may not understand what Srila Prabhupada is saying, but then we have to do bhajan. First, we have to chant. Unless we chant at least 2 sets of 16 rounds every day, at least 32 rounds every day, we will not understand. Very difficult to understand. Unless we have some bhajan bal. Why will Krishna reveal himself? Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavrita mudoham nabi janati lokama majamate. Krishna doesn't reveal himself to everyone. So we have to increase our bhajan, chant more, chant. Then slowly these things will become clear.
Yes.
We feel that we just came to Krishna consciousness and I should understand everything. I should understand Achintya Bhedavet Tattva. I should understand everything. So what Tattva Shishya, disciples used to stay for 12-15 years in Guru Ashram, in Gurukul. We think we can understand it just by doing disciple course. No, it takes time. Baba, it's not so simple. So some things we may not be able to understand, but that is because of our deficiency. We should accept the Prabhupada as it is completely. We should do bhajan. Then slowly these doubts will go away. Will go away. Then when someone says you are less intelligent, we'll say, yes, I am most less intelligent. I am least intelligent. Yes. That bhav will come.
No, I totally agree with each and every word of this purports. And Guru Maharaj also explained this part, but I was not able to kind of convince others because of lack of my bhajan and sadhana. But thank you so much for explaining.
You are a wonderful devotee, Sharanakat Mataji. Don't worry.
Just trying and trying hard. And I have one more question, but like maybe after Divya Mataji.
Yes, Divya Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I wanted to ask you about how to deal with a calamity. I mean, I can speak for myself when calamity comes, and especially when you are following the principles and when you're chanting and everything. So it makes me very resentful. Like I feel rejected from the friends, family, and I feel rejected by Krishna also. And then the enthusiasm to advance in bhakti also goes down. So I'm just wondering, what's the best way to deal with a calamity?
3 things. One is we should chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra with feelings and with a mood of taking shelter of Krishna through the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That's one. Second, we should take shelter of the association of advanced devotees who give us the right perspective to understand the calamity and see the calamity through the eyes of scriptures. If we see the calamity through our eyes, we may feel rejected, we may feel why this is happening to me. But when we are in the association of high-class Vaishnavas either physically or through their Vani, remotely. But when we are in association of advanced devotees, their words help us gain insights and the proper perspective of processing these calamities in our life. So association is very important. Otherwise, we can misinterpret and misunderstand the whole situation and not grow. But when we have proper association, then we understand that all the great devotees who came to the point of Sharanagati, complete surrender to Krishna, came because of pratikul paristhiti, because of unfavorable circumstances, because of calamities. Whether it is Gajendra, whether it is Draupadi, whether it is the gopis who lost Krishna during the Ras Leela, that was a calamity. Any devotee you see, Uddhav, who was on the verge of losing Krishna's association, he got Uddhav Gita in the 11th canto. So any calamity that comes upon us, whether it is Dhruv Maharaj or Prahlad Maharaj, it always leads to spiritual gain. Material loss leads to spiritual gain if we are doing bhajan. This we understand only by associating with high-class devotees. And number 3 is we should take shelter of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. Because in these books, we get hope. How to deal with the circumstances. Any calamity, Divya Mataji, any calamity that we go through in life, it is mentioned in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. It is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. You name any calamity, it is mentioned in our scriptures. And also is mentioned how to deal with those calamities. Great devotees of the past have gone through all the calamities that we go through and more. And they teach us how to deal with those calamities. They give us hope, they give us direction. So by studying the scriptures, reading Srila Prabhupada's books, we understand. None of us have the experience that our father is repeatedly trying to murder us. Is there anybody here in the assembly? Please raise your hand if your father has repeatedly tried to murder you. Prahlad Maharaj, 7th canto. Is there anyone in this world, in this room, in this meeting, who has been poisoned, whose complete wealth has been taken away and they have been forced to live in the jungles for 12 years? Has any of us lived in the jungle for 12 years because our wealth, house, property, money, clothes, everything has been taken away in an instant? Is there anybody? Is there anybody who has been stripped naked in the presence of 14 lakh men, lusty men? 14 lakh men. Anybody? Nobody. Is there anybody who has been whipped in 22 marketplaces here? Nobody. Haridas Thakur, Draupadi, all these devotees, they have gone through these situations not because of their own karma. Has anybody laid on a bed of arrows for months? Months. Yudhishthir Maharaj won the Kurukshetra war and he has performed 3 Rajasu Yajnas, 3 Ashwamedh Yajnas. Many months have passed since the Kurukshetra war. And Bhismadev is lying there like without food and water on that bed. Has anybody laid on a bed of arrows? One little wound we have, we ask for morphine and Percocet. None of us. But Bhismadev has gone through this. All our acharyas go through this not because of their prarabdha, but to become examples of hope and guidance to us when we go through our calamities. Draupadi Devi lost all her 5 children. All her 5 children. Subhadra Devi, being Krishna's sister and Arjun's wife, she lost her only child. So there is no calamity in this world that we face which our acharyas have not gone through. Therefore, third thing is to take shelter of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. It will give us guidance and hope. How to overcome these calamities, how to face, how to endure these calamities. And calamities are going to come on all of us. Dhruv Maharaj being rejected by his father. So all these we have to learn from them. So 3 things. One is Namashray. Second, Vaishnavashray. And number 3, Ashray of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Shastra Ashray. You have to take shelter of these 3 powerful limbs of bhakti. Nam, Sadhu Sangha, and Shastra. Is that okay, Divya Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. It's just me. I know we read Bhagavatam, we read these stories, but I mean, theory is one thing and practice is another.
Yes, so that
Yeah.
is the distance between Jnana and Vijnana. And the whole purpose of sadhana bhakti is to travel that distance, where theoretical knowledge becomes practical realized knowledge. That is the journey of a sadhak. That's why we do bhajan, that we get realization. And realization will come. Krishna is there to help all of us. Krishna is there to help all of us. We have to take shelter. Sharanagati. Okay? Sharanagat Mataji, you have to ask our last question, then we'll end.
Yes, I'll keep it short. So we saw that like how Yudhishthir Maharaj is feeling after that war and massacre, and we understand that he's very compassionate, and out of that compassion he's feeling that. And it was a dharma yuddha, like the Bhismadev was mentioning. We see around us so many injustice. I mean, it's not with us also, but like other people are also confirming that it is an injustice happening. But even in that situation, we say a single word, we feel that kind of uncomfortable, that, oh, why I did that? Like, even if it was injustice, let it be. I mean, kind of like, just setero kind of. I mean, like, as long as you're, tolerating that, you feel that like little bit of disturbance, that like, oh, wow, this is going on and I'm not saying something. But when you say, then you feel like Yudhishthir Maharaj, that like, something, why I did that. And also like you lose everything, like Draupadi Rani. I mean, they did it for justice, but then they lost everything. Like, so you lose your reputation, kind of everything. So what is the right thing? I mean, like I mean, definitely it is not like at the platform that I'm doing it for Krishna all the time. But I see that like many people are suffering because of that. And I have that like kind of a very leadership quality, that like, go and fight. And I try to control that a lot, like since I joined Krishna consciousness. But then it troubles me that like, so many things are going on, and like I keep quiet. And even if I do it, I feel regret.
Hare Krishna. Kaler dosha nidhe Rajan. Kaliyug is an ocean of faults. There are going to be problems, injustices everywhere. And we have to choose our battles. We have to choose our battles because our time and energy is limited. How much can we fight? When it comes to ourselves, we can tolerate. We can tolerate certain things. But when someone is doing a lot of adharma, then that should not be tolerated. Tolerating that is not humility. For example, if someone doesn't wish us Hare Krishna, someone neglects us, that we should tolerate.
Yeah.
But if someone is inappropriately touching a lady, that should not be tolerated. The lady should not think, oh, it's my karma, this person is molesting me, let me tolerate this. This is nonsense. No, you should not tolerate. You should stand up for yourself. You should protect yourself. So anywhere, why is Bhismadev lying on a bed of arrows? Why? Because he tolerated the injustice in the Kuru Sabha. This is the verdict of our acharyas. He said, Draupadi Devi, I could not protect you. So now, as a punishment, I'm going to lie on the bed of arrows. That is the power of Bhismadev. Same with Dronacharya. Why they all lost their life? Because they sat silently in the Kuru Sabha, Asat Sabha. So no, injustice should never be tolerated. Bhismadev is teaching us through his own example. He's becoming the example for us to learn. Injustice should not be tolerated. Srila Prabhupada was doing a Pandal festival. After the Mumbai Pandal festival, Srila Prabhupada did a Kolkata Pandal festival in Calcutta. And the American Matajis, they were dancing with saris on the stage as the kirtan was going on. Prabhupada was doing kirtan and the Matajis were dancing. And it was a sensation for the people of Calcutta to see this. They had never seen this. Western Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. But of course, some lusty men, they came to take advantage of the situation because the Matajis, beautiful Matajis, they were dancing on the stage, American, European, all these foreigner Matajis, they're dancing on the stage. They came and they tried to pull at their sari, tried to touch them. From the ground, they came near the stage and tried to touch them. And Srila Prabhupada is playing kartal and doing kirtan. Srila Prabhupada, like Sudarshan Chakra, took his kartal and threw it at those men.
Mm.
who were trying to touch his female disciples, and immediately they ran away.
Mm.
Srila Prabhupada, like, oh, Mahaprabhu called Sudarshan Chakra for Madhai. Srila Prabhupada, in the middle of Kirtan, Prabhupada Lilamrit says this. You can read it. Prabhupada became Vajradapi Kathoram. He became like a thunderbolt. Zug, 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 zug. Imagine a metal kartal flying towards your head. Prabhupada drove them away. So nonsense should not be tolerated, especially when it comes to those who are dependent. Women, children, the elderly, they should be given protection. It is our dharma to give them protection. But little things, somebody neglects us, somebody doesn't offer respect to us, that we should tolerate. But this we should not tolerate.
Right.
So
But then
we have
why
to choose
we
our
feel...
battles.
Right. Sorry.
No, please go ahead.
No, I said that like after doing that, still why we feel that like what Yudhishthir Maharaj, I mean, his feeling is maybe completely different, but feel like guilty, or like it comes to, okay, why we did like that, why I was standing there, because then now everything is messed up, like that follows that. So
see, this we have to take guidance from senior devotee, because this is very situational.
Yeah.
It depends exactly what the situation is, who the perpetrator is,
Right.
what our response was. Our response also should be out of obligation to dharma, and response should be based on compassion. If our response is based on false ego, then we will get a guilty feeling afterwards. So these are very specific situations, and we should take guidance from one's Shiksha Guru.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's difficult sometimes, that false ego must be mixing somewhere. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. Very nice examples.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Granthara Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki
Jai.
Nitai Gaur Premanandi.
Hari Hari.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So next week, Balram Jayanti is there, I think. Let me just very quickly look. So Tuesday, I think, is open. Tuesday, there is nothing. One second. Let me quickly check the calendar.
Thursday is Balram Jayanti.
Okay, so Tuesday, it is Rupa Goswami disappearance day, Gauradas Pandit disappearance day, and it is Vadashi. So Tuesday we'll have our class. Then Thursday is Balram Jayanti. Balramji is Balram Purnima. So Thursday we will not have a class. We will have our class on Wednesday instead of that. Okay. So next week, Tuesday, Wednesday. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.